shaking your head throughout the course of the whole opener. You all right?
A very enthusiastic opening. If I was half asleep from reading the schedule that Luke had put together, I'm certainly made awake by that opening.
Well, I'm pleased we woke you up. How are you, okay?
I'm very well. I'm recovering from administering a savage beating to that puerile little twit out there, the associate producer who thinks he's a dart player. Gets his own little dart. Joe gets his little dart kit out of there and starts throwing his darts.
Yes.
And gets his backside handed to him again by me.
I witnessed the start of this yesterday. We were sitting in the room outside, weren't we, after the show, and I could tell you were starting to get a little bit competitive. I said, I'm out of here now because he's gonna kill him, and he did. There you go. Listen,
you can teach these young kids a few things in life, can't you?
I know, unbelievable. I played paddle yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah.
How did you get on?
Lost.
Yeah.
It wasn't my fault, though.
Yeah. But playing with 7-year-old kids probably isn't the right thing, is it?
Are you going to take him on?
No, we're going to play together.
It's levels, isn't it?
We're going to play together.
I'll use a wok.
We're going to play together. We're going to have a doubles tournament and we're going to play together. Right, okay, lots to talk about today. We're streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. If you want to watch the show, you can head to the official talkSPORT channels on both those platforms. Big night last night in the Champions League. Congratulations to Arsenal. Terrific performance. Maybe one of their best performances away in the Champions League for 18 years. But Manchester City blew a 3-goal lead in 14 Champions League minutes. The record's tumbling in terms of statistics last night. Their winless run now goes to 6 games. What have they become? Is it still a case of they'll be back, or is it time to accept that this is a bit more serious than that? Is there even a danger that this is the starting of the empire crumbling?
Potentially. I mean, you've got 3 key components missing from their side that I think are the natural leaders. In form and in fitness, obviously in De Bruyne, in Rodri and in Diaz. And I think you take 3 leaders out of a side, you start to see the leadership levels in other parts of the team. Do I think that they will recover their poise? Yeah. Do I think that they're now being severely challenged? Which I think is a good thing, because I don't want, not because I've got a particular persuasion of disliking Man City, but who wants any team dominating any league? You get the Bundesliga, and I don't like that. I think you want to see as much competitivity in a league as you possibly can. So it has its challenges. We'll see Guardiola. I think it's probably one of his biggest tests. He's got to rebuild. And it's evident now that Man City have probably got to rebuild. People are starting now to criticise and talk about the age profile of the team and start to look at that as something that's been missed by their recruitment, because they're getting people being able to criticise them now. I would expect a reaction from them against Liverpool on the weekend. Whether that reaction provides any substance and ultimately gives them an outcome which is pleasing is a different discussion. But I don't think it will continue. I think that they will regain their poise.
But you thought on Monday, you said that they will be back eventually. You still have that feeling?
Well, they're not going to go to sleep, are they?
No.
I mean, they're not going to hibernate now. That's not the end of Man City, is it?
They are in a situation where, they've gone 5 games where they've lost consecutively, and that was bad. But actually, last night, they were 3-0 up in this game against a team, let's be clear, that aren't the best in Europe. This throwing away a 3-goal lead from that position. What was, I think, more pertinent was the fact that the manner in which they crumbled so quickly after conceding the first goal.
Yeah, I mean, I thought before the game final could cause them problems because of the form that City are in, because of the absentees that Simon's talked about. And they were 21 games away from home unbeaten in all competitions before last night. So they weren't to be taken lightly, and I wonder at 3-0 up if City were guilty of taking them lightly. They thought the job was done. But you're right, the way the team faded away after conceding the first goal and the manner in which they conceded the equaliser, in particular with Ederson. I know you've had concerns about him all season in no man's land and really costing his team that goal. That's a concern, and that shows you how fragile the confidence is. And the question you asked at the top of the programme was, have they lost that air of invincibility? Clearly they have, because it's 6 games without a win. They're conceding goals for fun. It's the first time in Champions League history that a team have been 3-0 up with 15 minutes to go and not won the game. So congratulations, City, on that record. But it's a concern. It's a concern because they've got Liverpool this weekend, and Liverpool are in fine fettle. I think they'll beat Real Madrid. We'll come on to that later. And at the minute, I think it's hard to make a case for City winning that game. What is the problem? It's too simplistic to say it's simply because Rodri is not in the team. I think it comes back to resting on their laurels in the summer. They got big money, for example, for Julian Alvarez, but they didn't reinvest it. So Erling Haaland has to play every minute of every game. I think Kyle Walker is looking like a player now who, when it comes to the top level, probably can't do it anymore. We thought that at the European Championship, so maybe City should have been alert to that as well. I think Nunez is having to play too many games because, again, I don't see him as an elite player. So I think they've rested on their laurels in terms of recruitment, But was that because they were worried about whether or not Guardiola was going to be the manager, and therefore they didn't want to build a summer transfer window around a guy who might not be in the dugout for much longer?
They don't keep clean sheets. That's a massive, massive issue for a team that actually was built on a very strong defence. And even though, last night we talked about recruitment. Guardiola was a hefty piece of recruitment. He's a young player who was very well thought of in Croatian football.
And he's leaders around him, though.
And he's crumbled on a couple of occasions in the last two matches, which is a real problem for him. It wasn't the first time, but there were boos around the Etihad last night. Is that what is going to happen when you have a run like this? Is it understandable? Was that the moment you need your fans? Is that a little bit of entitlement creeping in?
Football fans. I mean, that's what they do. If they are able to cheer, they're able to boo. Do I think it's reflective of what they should do? Probably not. They've had an embarrassment of riches. And so when you're not quite getting what you want, then you show adversity. Adversity is where people really come out and show their colours. Now, I'm not suggesting that they're fair weather fans. I'm suggesting that I don't think it's the ideal thing. Your team has given you enormous amounts of pleasure over a significant period of time, and so when it doesn't, it's about perhaps reminding yourselves that it's also important to support in circumstances where adversity is in play.
So you think they should have got behind them rather than boo them last night?
I think they're entitled to do what they want, but do I think it's admirable to boo something when you've had moments or significant periods of time where you've had everything you want served up to you?
They're allowed to voice their displeasure, though, aren't they?
But that's what I've just said. But do I think it's admirable? No, I don't. I think you have to be. I mean, supporting things. Being a supporter is about supporting things. You don't defend the indefensible. But if your team is struggling and you're not where you want to be, it's much better to be supportive than it is to be destructive, in my view. I think if people aren't applying themselves, or if someone is doing it from a position of no engagement, or not putting themselves into a situation where they're trying to win something, or more importantly, they're trying to be engaged, then by all means voice your displeasure. But if your team's in a bit of a funk and going through a difficult period, I'm not entirely sure what you achieve by booing them.
Guardiola actually spoke, and he has sometimes been a little bit irritated by things that have happened in the crowd, and I've spoke to him about that, and he's voiced it on several occasions. But last night, actually, his reaction was, the fans are entitled to boo us as a result of what's happened over the last 4 weeks or so.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.